Start the meeting, Frank.
What take just ticked over? All right, good evening, everybody.
You don't need it tonight anyways, it's voice.
Today is Wednesday, February 26th. The time is 6:30 p.m., and I am calling this meeting of the Macomb Township Board of Trustees to order. We will now say the pledge.
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Posey, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Trustee Guzmano.
Here.
Trustee Lucido.
Here.
Trustee Papa.
Here.
Trustee Oliver.
Here.
Treasurer Drollet.
Here.
Clerk Posey here. Supervisor Vivian.
Thank you. Here, sorry.
All
Here.
members are present.
Moving on to approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Motion to approve the agenda as is.
So move.
Support. Any questions or discussion? Motion by Treasurer Drollet, supported by Trustee Lucido to approve the agenda. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to approval of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the bill run?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Any questions or discussion on the bill run? Hearing none, motion by Treasurer Drollet, supported by Trustee Papa to approve the bills. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes from February 12th?
Trustee Kuzma makes the motion to approve the minutes.
Support.
Any questions or discussions on the previous meeting's minutes? Hearing none, motion by Trustee Kuzmano, supported by Treasurer Gillette, to approve the previous meeting's minutes from February 12th. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This will take us to our first public comment of the evening. This is for agenda items only. Anyone wishing to make public comment may do so from the microphone on the right-hand side of the room. And I don't see anybody making a move to the microphone, so I'm going to move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, move the consent agenda in its entirety.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion on any of the consent items? Hearing none. Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Clerk Posey, to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're going to go down to presentations. So our first presentation tonight is from our Macomb County Sheriff's Office. You gentlemen would come up to the microphone. Hello, Lieutenant.
For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Lieutenant Kevin Gillespie. I've been here for a few months now in charge of the substation. Recently, we added a sergeant spot on midnights, and we appreciate that. And we just wanted to give a quick update, just to, what's been happening for the last couple months. Sergeant Ryan Peacecheck, to my right here. He's been with the department for about 14 years. It was an easy choice when we were looking for somebody to kind of take on that task. And I know there maybe was a little apprehension of why should we add a command structure or command officer on midnights rather than maybe just another deputy for the money, and kind of went back and forth a little bit. And just to touch on that, just to we've seen these dramatic numbers since he's been in charge of the midnight shift, and not that anything was wrong with midnights, but with the command structure, you get so much more with direction and just someone to take the lead on the shift and also lead by example, and that's what we have with Ryan. So I think with that, I'd like to introduce Ryan and have him say a couple words about what's been going on.
Hi, my name's Ryan Peacecheck. I'm a sergeant with Macomb County Sheriff's Office. I just want to say thank you for having me in your township. I really appreciate it. I've been with the department for a while, and I really do appreciate this position. I really enjoy my job, and I'm having a lot of fun at it. So I think that's important because I can bestow that upon my people. Because in police work, you never know what you're going to get on a daily basis, and I think just sharing a little cheer and boost morale, I think is important. As far as guidance, I think for the year, my goal, not knowing, what I was getting myself into, the goal would just be to keep productivity high. I had a chance to look at some of the numbers in the past, from a year ago in January. self-initiated calls for us are really important. We respond to those, or self-initiated calls are the calls that we generate on our own. They're not like the calls for service necessarily that we're responding to from the public. So that's driving around and, checking subdivisions for car doors that are open, garage doors that are open, checking businesses, walking around complexes, making sure nobody, left their doors open, stuff like that. It's how we find a lot of work on midnights, and especially like you get calls during the day, which are popular, like larceny from auto. Well, those happen on midnight shifts. So if the guys are in the subdivisions and they're looking for these sorts of things, then that's important to deter crime as well as find it as soon as it happens. So we were somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 self-initiated calls for the month of January 2024. Now we're up at 885. So with just a little bit of direction, making sure the guys and gals are getting credit for the work that they're doing, and documenting it appropriately, that's really shown, that we're out there, we're doing the work, and definitely being productive. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and let you know that we're going to continue to do it, and we're going to continue to work hard for you. And if you have any questions, I'm here for you guys.
Thank you, Sergeant. So
Thank you.
this presentation was, actually it was my suggestion, but I only did so after meeting the sergeant for the first time on my regular meetings with the lieutenant, and he shared this information with me, and I thought it was important to bring it to the board, especially given the nature of our discussion when we made the changes to the sheriff's contract, and we had some, good, relevant discussion and poignant questions as to how to best use the resources. And I think the sergeant described it perfectly. We have great officers on every shift, but in any organization, in any group of people, adding someone of leadership into a group changes the dynamic, and ultimately, with good direction, you get good productivity. So thank you for doing that. We are thrilled to have you.
Absolutely.
So if it comes to the sergeant's work, does anyone have any questions or comments?
Just a
Yes.
brief comment, if I may, point of information. I just wanted to thank you for the approach you brought. You gave a very brief presentation, but you identified your approach to the job, the dynamic that the positive attitude brings, and the data that shows that you're able to actually help with productivity within that department. So
Absolutely.
I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I would just like to say one thing, not to embarrass you, but I didn't get the opportunity to publicly thank Sergeant Koss for helping me with the election. He did an amazing job, and I appreciated all his assistance. And it just goes to show that our sheriffs do more than just patrol the area. They assist us in many different ways and avenues throughout the township, so we're fortunate to have our relationship with the Sheriff's Department.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead,
Yes,
Charlie.
sir.
So since you've been here, anything jump out at you that you say, look, we got to address, or?
Basically, what I found is the work occurs to a great degree, but making sure that everyone's focused on like documentation and getting credit for the work. Like, somebody on like a routine patrol may drive through a subdivision 3 or 4 times, but they might not exactly document it the way that it should be. So like we would pull a general number for like a subdivision check, and that's an important metric for me to understand. Like, look, this individual, this deputy went through that subdivision, and they pulled a number for it. So then we can say like, yes, he's accountable, he was there, he did it. And then we can see what activities lead to like finding those LFAs and which areas lead to finding those, different things like open businesses and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's really it is I take I'm focusing on the numbers because I think that's the best way to understand like how the work is being completed and what's beneficial to us and what, might not be so beneficial.
Do you get out a lot, or?
Absolutely. So, like, for example, in January, I had 68 self-initiated incidents. February is a slightly shorter month, and I had some training this month, so I'm at 44 currently. That's like 11 traffic stops for February, so I'm out there, I'm writing citations when they're needed, I'm counseling people when they're not, and I'm out there doing the same job they're doing, so I do have a focus on patrol and being available to them, like, at any point. I've even responded to calls where, citizens had, some distress on a traffic stop, for example, and I was able to go there and kind of calm things down and, assure them that everyone was operating within policy and this is how we operate. And even though they may be upset, that they have this interaction with the police, that, everything's above board and stuff like that. So I think that me being available to the people at all hours, I think that's important too.
Good. Thank you.
So, absolutely.
Anyone else, Peter? Good? I'm good. All right, well, again, thank you. Lieutenant, do you have anything else to add?
No, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen,
so
for
much.
taking time out of your day to come out and share that with us.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Appreciate it. All right, with that, we are going to move on to our next presentation. This is a recognition of the retirement of Sergeant Gerald Jenna.
Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, I'm honored this evening to recognize 18 and a half years of service of Sergeant Gerald Jenna. He was hired by the Macomb Township Fire Department on August 14th, 2006, promoted to paid-on-call sergeant on June 28th, 2010, transferred to part-time sergeant on July 1st, 2024, and retired on February 16th of 2025. And as I said, he had a total of 18 and a half years of service with us here at Macomb Township. However, Sergeant Jenna is a example of a true public servant. His entire career has been spent as a public servant, and I'd just like to give a brief rundown of his career, and I think you'll be as tired as I was when he provided it to me. He started his career at Ruley's Ambulance and was employed there from 1983 to 1986. From 1984 to 1986, he was a paid-on-call firefighter for the East Detroit Fire Department. From 1986 to 2007, he was a centerline public safety officer and promoted to sergeant in 1997. From 2007 to 2019, he was a Grosse Pointe Woods public safety officer, and 2019 to present, he's employed by Macomb County as a protective service officer. So as I said, it's been truly a life of public service, and I'd like to recognize his 18 and a half years with us this evening upon his retirement and provide him with a token of our appreciation by providing him with his helmet to keep as a remembrance of his time here at Macomb Township. So Sergeant Jenna.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
Well done. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Sergeant Jenna. Appreciate your time with us, and we are glad you were able to serve our community for so long and provide such a great example to the rest of the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to take us to new business. Next item is a request to approve an encroachment agreement for MAO1 meter and the PRV chamber replacement. This is at St. Peter's Lutheran Church. Is there a motion to approve?
Trustee Kuzma makes a motion to approve the action item.
Support.
Mr. Van Tiffelen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, board members. As the board's aware, we're about ready to start construction on the replacement of our meter pit, MAO1. The last piece of paperwork that we need to complete is an easement encroachment agreement with the Macomb County Office of Public Works. The building that the facility, most of the equipment will sit in is actually going to be into an easement for the Macomb drain, which is right next to where the facility goes. It's the only place that we could really put the facility because of the entrance to the St. Peter's facility that's on that property. So we worked all the details out with the drain office. They have this as basically a standard agreement for easement encroachment for other facilities throughout the county. It basically outlines who's going to do what as far as maintenance goes. There's an insurance policy that we're going to have to provide to the drain office for liability reasons. But we've reviewed this, township attorneys reviewed it, and we're recommending approval.
Thank you, Mr. Van Tiffelen. And just for a little brief clarification, I know it's St. Peter's Lutheran Church. It's not their main church property, but they own the property on the south side of 24 Mile Road, and it's being located there. Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, motion by trustee Kuzma, supported by trustee Oliver, to approve the encroachment agreement for the MA01 meter and PRV chamber replacement. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a request to approve professional services for road culvert and landscape design for the Broughton Road extension from 23.5 mile to 25 Mile Road in the amount of $874,230.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Mr. Van Tifflin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, board members. About a month ago, the board approved the first part of this request for the survey work and right-of-way document preparation so that we could begin the Broughton Road extension project. This is the second phase to that proposal. This is for the actual design work for that entire stretch. This will be used for coming up with the cost share agreement that we're going to have with Macomb County for their portion versus our portion. There's also a portion that is going to be paid for by the developer of the development on the south side of 24, on the west side of future Broughton Road, according to their PUD agreement. So we've reviewed this. We've had the Macomb County Department of Roads review it. There are a couple of minor tweaks that we will need to make sure that the engineer consultant is aware of. We have gotten a draft copy of the cost share agreement. We're starting to review that. I anticipate that coming to the township board at very soon at one of our meetings in March, I'm hoping. So with that, we're recommending approval.
Thank you, Mr. Van Tifflin. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, motion by Clerk Posey, supported by trustee Oliver, to approve the professional services for the road culvert and landscape design for the Broughton Road extension from 23.5 to 25 Mile Roads. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a request to approve the fiscal year 2026 water and sewer 5-year capital improvement plan.
Move to approve?
Support. Mr. Johnson.
All right. Good evening, board members. So DPW, in conjunction with Engineering Department, creates a 5-year and 20-year CIP with that process starting in October and ending typically the second meeting in February for your guys' approval. Just a little bit of background, the CIP gives the township board and the residents a look into the future at the costs that will be associated with the maintenance of the water and sewer infrastructure. While the 5-year CIP is recommended for approval at tonight's meeting, this plan will allow DPW and engineering to begin work on the fiscal year 2026 projects listed in front of you this evening. The goal of the CIP is to have the water and sewer systems be maintained and stay in their current, to stay current and to avoid a state of disrepair. We're trying to avoid kicking the can down the curb, which could lead to emergencies and more costly repairs in the future. With the CIP being broken down into 3 main categories of water, sewer, and water and sewer, that's how we categorize these projects when we go into the budget season this coming May and June. The largest projects for this coming fiscal year, for water, we have the Plum Grove Village Phase 1 project. For sewer, it's the Pump Station 1 replacement project. And for water and sewer, it's the DPW building expansion. A lot of these projects are derived from either hands-on experience from the team, so they know where issues are in the system, or based on EGLE or EPA requirements from reliability studies and things of that nature. So with that information, I know we've met with all of you guys at various times throughout the week. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this plan.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by trustee Papa, to approve the fiscal year 2026 water and sewer 5-year capital improvement plan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a request to approve a 1-year contract extension for the HVAC services with SciEnergy Engineering in the amount of $48,343.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Mr. Johnson?
All right, so HVAC has been a fun topic for all of you guys over the past few years since I've been here. SciEnergy was one of the first contracts I dealt with coming here. They've done a great job for us since they've started. We're recommending a 1-year extension. This contract provides preventative maintenance as well as building management system support. So what that means is with preventative maintenance, there's the maintenance of the HVAC units of 9 buildings. There's a 26-point inspection of 295 units within our department, within all these buildings. 82 of them are major, meaning rooftop units or anything that pushes air or heat to the buildings, or hot or cold water. And then everything else just makes sure it functions. So there's 300 total units that they check on a regular basis. That's usually quarterly inspections. On top of that, there's the building management system, which is the software. They make sure to conduct quarterly inspections of the equipment and the system performance to make sure everything's communicating and effective and operating effectively. And then there's data services, making sure that the software's up to date, any patches, anything that needs to be made for that software to make sure it's always running. And then they have remote access and telephone support at our disposal. So with that, Synergy's been a great team member. We'd like to extend their contract, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Motion by Clerk Posey, supported by Trustee Oliver, to approve a 1-year contract extension for HVAC services with Sci Energy Engineering in the amount of $48,343. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Kevin. Moving on to item 15 is a request to approve a special event for Denowith Garden Center Spring Open House, permanent parcel 0819400009.
Move to approve?
Support.
Mr. Box.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. Denowith Garden Center is looking to have their annual spring event. They do the same thing in the fall as well. We've been before you many times asking for this. Typically, a special event is only for 5 days. Really, all they're doing is putting signage out front. The garden center, I'm sure you're all aware, sits quite a ways off the roadway, so they want some extra signage for their spring event, and they are looking for signage from April 1st until May 26th. Staff is in support of this request.
Thank you, Mr. Box. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Kuzmano, to approve the special event at Denowith.
Oliver.
Oh, I'm sorry. Supported by Trustee Oliver. To approve the special event at Denowith Garden Center Spring Open House, permanent parcel 0819400009. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And our last item of the evening is a request to modify a contract with Oakwood Building Company, Inc. for the demolition of the house at 19975 23 Mile Road and increase the contract by $12,000. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
So if everyone remembers, we hired Oakwood through an RFP process to demo the building next to Station 1. When a material testing company that was hired by the contractor tested materials, he found a much higher level of asbestos than we had anticipated. It was believed, because the house was mostly empty, that we would, if any, we would find a little bit in the basement adhesive. However, all of the exterior walls that are still in place had it in the paint. All of the caulking in all the windows, as well as the basement and a few other places, all had asbestos. So due to this increased cost, I did ask the contractor to solicit bids. He's solicited 3 quotes, one of which was, we determined, incomplete because it had a number of exclusions. It was included in the board materials. So we are requesting that the board approve a contract modification with the original contractor in the amount of the second lowest bid or quote that he received for abatement services, and that is the $12,000. With that, I will take any questions or discussion. Okay, hearing none. Motion by Trustee Oliver, supported by Trustee Papa, to approve the modification to the contract with Oakwood Building Company, Inc. For the house demolition at 19975 23 Mile Road and increase it by the amount of $12,000. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, this will take us to our second public comment. If anyone has, this is for non-agenda items, anyone has anything they would like to present to the board, they may do so now at the microphone on the right-hand side of the room. And I don't see anybody making a move, so we'll go on to board comments. Trustee Lucido.
Just a couple of things. Obviously, congratulations to Sergeant Jenna on your retirement. And also to DPW and engineering and your teams, thank you for all the work you did on the capital improvement plan. Just in the brief meeting that we had, the amount of detail that they go into and work that's done on something like this, I don't think gets seen with a 10-second presentation. So I just want to make sure that they're recognized for the type of work that they do behind the scenes to get us the best value for what the water and what we collect for their water rates, but to know that there's more than just water being brought to your house. There's infrastructure that needs to be maintained, and we have good, talented people looking out for that. So just want to make sure they get recognized for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lucido. Trustee Papa.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off Mr. Lucido, just that congratulations to Sergeant Jenna on his retirement. Thank you for your service. Also, Mr. Johnson, for the work you guys did this week. I feel like I'm drinking from the fire hose, as I've told you before, about learning about what goes on in the township. So thank you for helping me with that.
Thank you, Trustee Papa. Trustee Oliver.
Yeah, thank you. Same thing, Sergeant Jenna, thank you for your service. Appreciate that. Thank you, Kevin. Again, like Pete said, it looked like we just approved that, but behind the scenes, you were explaining it by detail, everything. So thank you and your team for that. And whoever involved, thank you for taking down that house on 23. All parties involved. And that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Oliver. Trustee Kuzmano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I want to just really state the confidence I have in the team with Mr. Vinton Tiflin and Mr. Johnson, allowing me to pepper them with questions before the meeting began. I asked questions like, if there's one thing you had to cut, what would it be on this this presentation? And the answers that I get are all logical and coherent, and that's the reason why I've developed such trust and faith in their opinions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Trustee Kuzmano. Treasurer Gillette.
Ditto the comments of my colleagues. That's all I have. They see a bestest I can do with the agenda.
Oh, God.
It's unusually brief for you, but okay. Clerk Posey.
I just would like to wish Sergeant Jenna a happy and healthy retirement. And also, I'm pleased to hear about the success that the Sheriff's Department is having on the midnight shift. I think we can all assume that more happens between the hours of 12 and 6 a.m. And I'm happy to hear that having leadership during that shift is bringing more productivity and safety to the township. That's all I have.
Thank you, Clerk Posey. Thank you, Kevin and Jim, for putting together that presentation and working on that. I know it's, the water and sewer budget is our single biggest budget. It's not something we talk about a ton here at the town hall, but it's an enormous amount of money, and the investment in infrastructure in today's dollars is something that we would never be able to manage. So keeping it up and having Kevin and Jim and our consultants working on a maintenance plan is critically important to the success of the community. So thank you for all that hard work. Thank you to Sergeant Jenna, and we wish him the best in his retirement. And I can't say enough good things about our sheriff's office, Lieutenant Gillespie, our new sergeant, and our other sergeant that have been here have been great to work with. They do a fantastic job. They have highly trained and highly personable police officers throughout the community, which goes a long way. So I want to thank them for all their hard work. And with that, is there a
Motion to adjourn.
I was trying to drag it out too, but I couldn't.
Division.
Any discussion?
I didn't think he got a
Was there a
support.
second? I don't have a support. Motion dies.
Support from trustee Lucido.
was weak,
It was a
weak.
weak, it was a half-hearted support.
Support.
Just making it worse for yourself, Chris.
No one wants to talk about it?
Okay, adjourn.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned, 7 PM.
You had Frank by 1 minute, but if you